Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Hope you're enjoying your day off if you are able to have a day off. I want to know, what is your favorite holiday? How about this? Give me your favorite frontline holiday, the Christmas, the Thanksgiving. And then what's your favorite headliner? Maybe are you a Memorial Day guy? Do you like Halloween? Go above and beyond down in the comment section down below. And coming up on today's episode of Bears Now by Chat Sports, a juicy trade idea that I'm going to react to. I'm Harrison Graham. Could Jonathan Allen become a Chicago Bear via trade? That is the topic of today's show. We'll talk a little OTAs at the end of the episode as well, so stay tuned for that. But this has been circulating around the internet the past couple of days, and Bears Twitter's been on it. It starts from Bleacher Report. Alex Ballantyne writing an article, some different trades that could help some teams, and he had Allen to the Bears. He said, at this point, Matt Eberflus' comment that the three technique is, quote, the engine of his defense has been well circulated. Allen might be better off in a situation where he's still a featured player. This would surely be the case in Chicago, where he would reunite with former Commanders teammate Montez Sweat. I think the root of this question and this topic kind of just boils down to this. Is he a long-term fit in Washington? How does Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, and that organization view him in their franchise moving forward? He's 29 years old, so he's not old, but he's not young either. For a defensive tackle, 29 is almost like 31 for other positions. He does have 2 years left on his deal, but typically players of his status, sometimes as early as right now, 2 years left on his deal, but certainly with 1 year left, which would be next offseason, want an extension. So that would certainly apply here, and especially Allen knowing himself, he probably knows, hey, I should try and get an extension before I turn 30, considering the position I play. Feels like the Commanders are going younger. They signed a bunch of guys in free agency that are in their mid-20s. They drafted a bunch of players as well. So a trade between these two teams could be a win-win deal potentially, especially if Washington's sitting there saying, hey, we're probably not going to go win a Super Bowl this year. The Bears may not either, but they're certainly closer to that. Allen, could fill a need, and the Commanders could get some more draft compensation in return. We'll kind of get to the trade details part of this a little bit later on in the episode, but I first want to hear from you guys. Should the Bears make a trade for Jonathan Allen? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. If the price is right, I'd certainly like to see it. He's been a good player. He's been a productive player. He was good last year for Washington. Year before had 7.5 sacks. Year before had 9. So his last 3 years, he's been really good as an interior pass rusher. The sacks have gone down a little bit, but his effectiveness has been pretty similar when you look at advanced metrics and his PFF grades and all of that stuff. And more importantly, since day dot, since Matt Eberflus took this job, he has called the three-tech position the engine of this defense. It's why they tried to sign Larry Ogunjobi 2 years ago, and then they had to cut him loose before putting ink on paper because he failed his medical exam because of a foot issue, and they really have never filled that since. Justin Jones was serviceable. They let him go. They're banking on Gervon Dexter, but, is he ready for that? That's still a question mark. There's no doubt Jonathan Allen would fill a need. He is still a good player in his prime. Now, how much time of his prime is left? You could argue only 1 or 2 years, maybe 3 or 4. We'll see. These trench type of players, some guys age really well. Some guys are kind of done by 30, 31. So it is a question mark. And now I will say in his case, after his rookie year, so the past 6 seasons, he's only missed 3 total games. That's pretty durable for a guy playing in the trenches, a 300-pounder in there. That's, in a car crash almost every single play he's on the field. So he's been a reliable player on the field, similar to his teammate Montez Sweat, who's been very durable in his career too, former teammate, but maybe future teammate once again here in Chicago. So, I would feel comfortable at least for the remainder of his 2 years on his contract if I was the Bears that you would get a guy that's going to be out there and be effective. Question is, if you trade for him, do you also want to extend him? I would think yes, even if it's a short-term extension, but that remains to be seen. Obviously, would have to happen first, which, speaking of, coming up, we'll dive into the trade proposal that Bleacher Report suggested and kind of respond to that and give my thoughts. But first, do want to tell you about our sponsor here on Chicago Bears Now. That is Prize Picks. the best daily fantasy sports app in North America. On a daily basis, they have 3 million active users and counting. A bunch more people who have signed up. You should be one of them. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Get a deposit match today. If you love fantasy football, I get it's the offseason, but NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball, get in on daily fantasy sports and have new lineups every day. And if you are more of a football guy, well, you can still get in on the action right now. Season-long stat projections are available. Here's a two-player entry I like. DeAndre Swift, more than 850.5 rushing yards. I also like the more on Amon-Ra St. Brown receiving touchdowns, 7.5. He had 10 last year. Detroit's kind of humming right now. I like him to get 8 or more. 10 to win 30 on that entry as two-player entries get 3x your money. In return, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get that first-time deposit match up to $100. Click and sign up today. It takes less than 90 seconds. Link is in the comments and in the description. Your first entry will take less than 60 seconds to fire off. So get started. Choose more. Choose less. It's Prize Picks. All right, here is the trade idea from Bleacher Report. Jonathan Allen comes to the Bears. Commanders receive a second-round pick next year and a 2026 sixth-round pick. Now, they didn't specify if this second-round pick would be the Bears' own or the Carolina pick. To me, that's a big difference because if I'm the Bears, I'm thinking I at least have a pretty decent chance of being a playoff team. So I would much rather trade my own pick in the 50s versus Carolina's, which, unless they shock all of us, that's going to be a top 35, top 40 pick. I think Carolina's at least a year away from being competitive. Either way, it's not a cheap price, but if it's pick 53 and, a sixth the next year versus pick 36 and a sixth the next year, that's a pretty big difference. I mean, 20 slots in the second round is pretty valuable, which we saw in the Claypool trade a couple of years ago. That one wouldn't have been nearly as killer if that pick they traded was the Ravens one, not their own. Of course, it ended up being their own, so that ended up being a bummer. But what this all comes down to at the end of the day is this. Do the Bears think Gervon Dexter or Zacch Pickens, don't want to uninclude him, is ready to provide consistent pass rush production from the interior and just consistent play? If the answer is yes, you don't make this trade. If the answer is no, you definitely consider a trade like this if it's out there. If you're somewhere in the middle, maybe you're kind of in wait-and-see mode and you see how the first month of the season goes and kind of play it out. Would you make this trade, putting it back on screen for you guys? Type T for trade, P for pass, and let's operate as if that second-round pick is the Bears' own, because I don't think they would make this trade right now if it was the Carolina trade. Like, that's too much of a panic move, but I could maybe see it if it's the Bears' pick. You let me know, T for trade or P for pass. My kind of final thought and conclusion and what I think will happen, and probably what I would do as well, this feels like a textbook Ryan Poles trade deadline move. He's made a move at the deadline 2 years in a row. Claypool 2 years ago, obviously didn't play out, but he stuck to his guns, got Montez Sweat last year. That paid off big time, got a long-term deal done. He's not afraid to make a move. Both of those for second-round picks. You have an extra second-round pick. I would expect the Bears to be active at the deadline again, especially considering this year they should at least be in the playoff mix. I think they're going to give Gervon Dexter and Pickens, for that matter, a chance to show out, prove one of those guys can be that answer at 3-tech. And if they're not, if they're inconsistent, then I could see them taking a swing here. Then Dexter slides back to being kind of a flashy backup rotation piece. But seems like they want to give Dexter this opportunity. So I doubt they would make that move right now before training camp. Hit that subscribe button. I'll tell you what, if they make a big-time trade like this, we're going to be going live here on the channel. So hit that sub button. We got daily coverage on the Chicago Bears, news, rumors. We started our Madden simulations as well. Every live show, we're knocking out another game on the schedule. If you want to be a part of that, join us live. Be sure to hit those notifications so you know exactly when we do go live. All right, quick notes on OTAs, then we'll get out of here. Week 2 of OTAs getting going Tuesday. The 3 practices this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. They're going to take Thursday off, kind of what they did last week. 2 practices, day off, 3rd practice. I don't know, as I'm filming this on Sunday for you guys to watch on Monday, what day is open to the media. But one thing I really want to see is when the media is out there, which, again, I think it's a joke that they're not able to go all 3 days. But when the media is out there, hopefully it's a good day for the offense, or at least a more competitive day, right? Like last week, it was the defense dominated. Like, you want to see the offense respond, right? And then 2, I want to see Rome Odunze to return. He's been dealing with a minor hamstring issue. Flus said they're hoping to ramp him up for this week, so hopefully that happens. And I want to see what other absentees show up. Is Velus Jones back out there? Is Nate Davis out there? That's a guy I'm keeping an eye on. Again, it's voluntary. It's not the end of the world, but I am curious to see which guys are out there that weren't the week before. All right, there you have it. Some news, notes, trade rumor out there that I wanted to discuss. If you want more Bears content on pretty much a daily basis, at HGramNFL on Instagram. You can follow me over there. See you guys next time. Bear down.